Welcome to this lesson on theories and frameworks in learning design. If you think back to past lessons, you should hopefully recall that there are different major schools of educational theory, including behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructionism. You should also remember choosing a theory or model for your first e-lecture assignment. This session builds on these major educational theories to provide some foundation for the frameworks and theories you'll be teaching in your e-lecture. It's important to know these major theories to justify the use of different instructional strategies and models in our learning design. Each of the theories provides a different lens on learning, so each can give you different ideas about how to make your learning design stronger. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe the key concepts and assumptions of major educational theories, including behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructionism, and situate your learning theory or framework within these broader theories. Simply put, an educational theory is a series of tenets and assumptions about how people learn. So when we use different educational theories in our learning design, we are basing our design on different assumptions about how people learn. The first theory we'll discuss, educational behaviorism, has roots in broader behaviorism theory developed in the field of psychology. In education, behaviorism assumes that learning is a change in observable and measurable behavior caused by external stimuli in the environment. For example, teachers manipulate student experience and motivation in the classroom to influence how their students think and act. Design and instructional strategies related to behaviorism include using explicit and measurable outcomes, assessing behaviors to see if outcomes are achieved, sequencing learning appropriately, providing feedback and corrective action, and manipulating motivation with positive and negative consequences. As you'll see in this course, many of these strategies are used, including outcomes, assessment, sequencing, and manipulation of motivation. By manipulation, I mean grading. The next major theory that followed behaviorism was cognitivism. According to cognitivism, learning is an individualized internal process that involves memory, thinking, reflection, abstraction, motivation, and metacognition. Metacognition is a fancy word that means thinking about our thinking. Common words used in cognitivist discourse include information, communication, conceptualization, memory, recall, and so on. Instructional and design strategies related to cognitivist theory include pacing and chunking of information, using conceptual models in graphic organizers, highlighting, linking, and connecting concepts, repeating the use and recall of information, accommodating individual learning styles, and using multiple modes and modalities. Again, you may recognize that many of these strategies are used in this course. Lastly, there's constructionism. With this theory, students learn by observation, processing, and interpretation, and then personalize the information to construct their own worldviews. Constructionism stresses that knowledge is actively built rather than passively received to create the student's personal, subjective reality. Common words used in constructionist discourse include situated, contextual, uncovered, discovered, learner-centered, and so on. Constructionist strategies include keeping learners active, contextualizing and personalizing activities, guiding to rather than giving information, allowing for reflection, making learning interactive and collaborative, and creating presence in community. Because constructionism is a newer theory, and because it's sometimes difficult to fully understand, we'll talk more about it in a moment. Now that we've been introduced to these three major theories, it's important to recognize that they all play a role in most designers' or teachers' practice to greater or lesser extents. We use behaviorism when we use grades, when we create experiences or activities for our learners, and when we get our students to practice skills and knowledge we want them to learn. We use cognitivism when we communicate and connect our information, when we link our ideas, and assess our learners' memorization and comprehension. And we use constructionism when we help our learners struggle with authentic problems, and when we challenge them to create their own ideas and values based on their personal life experiences. Now, we're going to take a deeper look at constructionism. Another word for constructionism that's often used in its place is constructivism. For the purposes of this lesson, I've chosen to use constructionism. Constructionism tries to focus on a major shift in our assumptions about truth and the roles of the teacher and learner. Before constructionism in education, assumptions about the nature of truth were solely objective. That is, truth is singular and something that we must all conform to. Teaching therefore stressed this conformity. So in objectivist teaching, students are often treated as passive receivers of knowledge and behavioral change, and truth is passed from the more experienced teacher one way towards the learners. The goal of the objectivist teacher is for learners to accurately internalize the one truth they're presented with by the curriculum, including scientific truths related to the physical world and social truths related to human behavior and human values. Constructionism is based on a different assumption about the nature of truth. Although there may be one physical world we all experience and measure the accuracy of our beliefs against, constructionism assumes that what we call truth is actually a social construction. This means we communicate and agree on shared interpretations of the world. Usually, the interpretation that's most accepted is what we call true. These shared interpretations of the world are like maps. Different social groups construct different maps that might be equally valid. We can test the validity of our maps by comparing them to what we experience and by trying to navigate the world successfully. If our maps are well constructed and accurate, we get where we want to go. If our maps aren't accurate or ideal, we may fail and therefore need to change our maps. This shift in assumptions about truth are the foundation for constructionism's different approach to instruction. Students are not treated as passive receptacles of knowledge that represent one unquestionable truth. Instead, they are active creators of knowledge who must construct and negotiate meaning in the world. This means that the teacher and students collectively share and negotiate their maps with each other through critical dialogue. They construct their own meaning through critical reflection, and then they act on and test their new maps in the world. Other key differences between objectivist and constructionist assumptions include the following. In objectivism, we assume that we see the world as it really is, or that our mental models or maps can perfectly represent reality. Because we all see the world as it is, we therefore experience the same thing when we all experience the same event. With constructionism, we assume that everyone filters their own experiences differently and constructs meaning in different ways. Another way of describing this key difference between objectivism and constructionism is by thinking about our beliefs. An objectivist would say that what we perceive changes our beliefs. They would say, "I'll believe it when I see it." In contrast, a constructionist would say that what we believe changes our perceptions. They would say, "I'll see it when I believe it." I know this seems a bit odd, but it highlights the important role that our mental models play in influencing how we learn. By focusing on one truth, objectivist teachers assume they have knowledge about the real world, which they must effectively impart to their students, and learning occurs when students internalize this knowledge. In contrast, by focusing on multiple interpretations of truth, constructionist teachers assume that teachers and students share different frames of reference that interpret the real world, and that learning occurs when they construct new, more useful frames of reference through reflection and dialogue. This means that rather than changing behavior or acquiring knowledge, as teachers and designers, we therefore focus on how the learner perceives, interprets, and constructs reality. We therefore try to get the learner to examine their own perceptual filters using critical thinking, dialogue, and reflection. Using critical thinking, dialogue, and reflection, teachers focus on helping their students become aware of and change how they see the world. There are many factors that students should become aware of, including their conscious points of view, their unconscious habits of mind, their social and cultural values, and their physiological filters. Ideally, as constructionists, we encourage our learners to critically think and discuss how they can change and improve their internal socially constructed world, for example, their assumptions, points of view, unconscious habits, and so on, as well as how they can change and improve their external socially constructed world, for example, their culture's social, economic, and environmental problems. In summary, as designers, we need to recognize that there are several major educational theories that are forwarded in Western education. Being able to connect our instructional design approaches to them is important because we need to use different strategies in our design, and we sometimes may need to justify our design choices to another person involved in the process. Your tasks now are to begin reviewing the design theories in the class site's wiki to find a topic that you'll commit to for your major assignments. You'll also need to begin researching your topic in preparation for your glossary entry, which you'll create soon. Lastly, you should review the supporting documents and videos for the first major assignment, your learning design plan. Your design plan will take you several days to do well, so getting a head start is a great idea. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via email.